The Athletic have learned that Paris Saint-Germain have reached an agreement with head coach Mauricio Pochettino to see him leave his role ahead of the upcoming season after 18 months in charge. Not really a surprise, this, Adam, to be honest, is it?
No, it's not. It's been on the cards for, probably since they went out of the Champions League against Real Madrid. It's actually quite funny because after the first leg of that game, which PSG won in very late on, PSG were convinced at that point that Real Madrid were going to try and take Pochettino off them this summer. And obviously it's turned out that Ancelotti won the league and the Champions League, and Pochettino's the man without a job. If you were being generous about Pochettino, you could say, PSG comfortably won the title. We've seen numerous managers, good managers, go in there and struggle. Thomas Tuchel, obviously he got to a Champions League final, but generally didn't seem to enjoy the experience at PSG that much. Unai Emery as well, even Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, they all win league titles, but the challenge there is to go and win the Champions League, and no one's been able to do it. And when you have a pattern of talented head coaches all go in somewhere and find things really difficult, then it probably means there's a broader cultural issue within a club. And I think that's something that PSG now finally recognised. They've made pretty substantial changes this summer, as well as Pochettino being on the way out. They've removed sporting director Leonardo. They've brought in Luis Campos to help with the recruitment as a football advisor. I think Antero Henrique is in as to assist with sales of players, which is a big thing now for PSG because they've kept Mbappe. They need to get players out if they're going to comply with financial fair play. I know a lot of listeners will be listening to this and just thinking that they don't really believe that PSG comply with financial fair play, whatever happens, but they do this summer really need to shift players out. And there's probably 7 or 8 players that are available. I think they would listen to offers for Neymar, but they also appreciate that market for someone who is on extortionate money at PSG probably just isn't there this summer, that there isn't possibly a buyer that's able to do that deal. But if one was to come in, I think it's one that they would be prepared to do. But it leaves them therefore having to move out sort of those more mid-ranking players, Idrissa Gueye, Danilo Pereira, Julian Draxler, that kind of level. And just on Pochettino, unfortunately for him, I mean, it never really felt like he settled at PSG. He was, I know he was living in a hotel for quite a bit of it. The style of football wasn't particularly good, even though they were winning games. It wasn't particularly good. I think PSG became a little bit frustrated by the impression they had that he was maybe hankering for a return to England. There was a strong link last summer. He spoke to people at Tottenham last summer and was interested in going back to them. Real Madrid were interested last summer, and eventually they went for Ancelotti. And then Manchester United came along and Pochettino held discussions with them as well. So I think there was a point at which it all felt a bit like PSG were at a networking event talking to someone in that room, and that person's always looking with their eyes, waiting for the next really exciting thing to come across. And I think for PSG, when you've brought, what they did last summer, Messi, Wijnaldum, Hakimi, Sergio Ramos, Nuno Mendes, I've probably forgotten someone, Donnarumma. That was a really big summer. And if you're the PSG owner, you're probably looking at Pochettino thinking, just crack on, right? You've got this amazing squad. You've got Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, but he found it difficult. He found it difficult to manage. I think there's probably a question as to, how much did Pochettino want all of those players? Were they his signings? To be honest, I can't really say they were or weren't, but I think it's probably a fair question at some point which he may address. But at the same time, I don't think there was an impression when all those players came that he was saying, "Oh, I'm not having that Messi, and I'm not having Hakimi." I think at the start of the season there was a lot of excitement, but it just didn't work out, and you now have Pochettino in a situation where his stock has really dropped, and you're not quite sure where he'd go in next.
Yeah, that's the question, David, isn't it? What next for Pochettino? You had the story on The Athletic about him agreeing to leave, and it also sounds like PSG are going in a slightly different direction with his replacement compared to some of the names that we've been listing off who've given it a go there.
Yeah, in his defence, I don't think any manager would say no to all of these players. And if they did, they probably would be ignored, especially at a place like PSG. And that taps into what's gone before him. So Ancelotti, I think it was then Laurent Blanc, Unai Emery, Thomas Tuchel, all of them in various time spans have suffered the same fate as him. They've departed. They've also, all of them apart from Laurent Blanc, gone on to European success in terms of the Champions League or the Europa League titles. And that's something that Pochettino will be looking to do now in the future, because I don't think you become a bad coach overnight. I don't think you become a Champions League final coach for no reason. I don't think you get linked with Manchester United repeatedly. He was the apple of their eye. A return to Tottenham, Real Madrid high up on their list of candidates before they went for Carlo Ancelotti for no reason. And therefore, that's probably where he'll pitch himself still for the time being at this top level after he's had a break. There's inevitably going to be changes again at various clubs in the October, November, December World Cup period, if things aren't going their way, even into the early part and summer of 2023. He took some time out, of course, after Tottenham. He came into a difficult situation mid-pandemic, mid-season. The only other time PSG had changed coach mid-season was when Ancelotti came in, and he also did not win the league, although that was coming up to a decade ago now. So it was quite a different time, but it was under the Qatari ownership too. And Pochettino, with all due respect to your Newcastle Uniteds, who seem to be very happy with Eddie Howe at the moment, Aston Villa, an immediate impression by Steven Gerrard. It wasn't so good towards the end of the season, but they're all in on him. Your Evertons and others of this world. I do think Pochettino will be looking higher. We don't know how long the Real Madrid manager, whoever it may be at any given time, will stay in position. There are new situations at the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United. You never know with a Juventus, who Pochettino has also been linked to. Barcelona, I don't know how feasible that would be with his Espanyol background. Inter Milan, AC Milan, they're very happy with Pioli now, but their expectations have changed. They're in the Champions League again. They've got new ownership coming in. So I do think he will be in those mix. And it's not really my opinion. It's more educated from the people you speak to in football and where they see him, because they're making these decisions. But it is a delicate time now, because he lost out on the Manchester United job, presumably in no small part because of the way that the PSG experience has gone, the way he has managed, in the view of the Manchester United hierarchy, the egos in the dressing room, the politics above and around him. Erik ten Hag perhaps benefited from being in a more stable environment at Ajax, where he is at the club, who enjoys most of the domestic success and has made some progress in the Champions League too. So maybe the PSG tenure has worked against Pochettino and that it's been to his detriment, but I do think he will still have high ambitions for the time being. It's going to take some bravery from a club to take his project on, but I don't think memories are too far off of what he did at Tottenham, the way he built, what he did at Southampton, at Espanyol, and I think that will gain him more opportunities ahead.